All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Skip Everling. I'm the head of developer relations here at Kolena. Very excited to share with you today about AI-powered document automation using AI agents, particularly with a focus on transforming real estate operations, which I'm sure most of you are here because you realize that there's a lot of document-intensive workflows that could really benefit from some automation. So today we're going to explore how the Kolena platform can really help real estate professionals all across the industry, lots of different use cases, lots of different workflows to process documents faster and more accurately, and in particular with a lot less manual effort. It should be a big selling point for those of you that are having to dig through documents on your own. Quick word about Kolena as we get started here. Kolena is, we were founded in 2021. We've been focused on building AI quality tools for enterprises. Here are just a few of the many companies that we are working with or have worked with in the past to help them create their, to integrate AI into their products or services. We also hosted our first AI quality conference here in San Francisco just last year. We had technology partners, OpenAI, Cohere, Meta AI, regulatory partners, FDA, CFPB, NIST, a huge crowd of tech veterans, people who are building in the space, regulators in the space, enterprises who are looking to integrate AI into their space. It was a really great event. If you want to see some of the talks, one of the reasons I'm mentioning it here is that there's a lot of great talks about implementation of AI and how to use it responsibly, and of course, how to do it in a high quality way. So if you want to see some of those talks, you can find them at aiqualityconference.com, or you can find Kolena on YouTube. Just search for Kolena on YouTube, and we have a whole playlist there of these AI quality conference talks. Great. So jumping into our agenda for this particular webinar, we are really going to be focused on real estate workflow automation here. And the reason being, the reason we work with so many real estate customers is that agents are really tailor-made for these document-intensive workflows. And if you are in the real estate industry, you know that every transaction, every property, every decision comes with a mountain of documents. You got leases, loan agreements, contracts, all sorts constantly coming in. Just a lot to go through, and there's a lot of legalese in there, and a lot of boilerplate. There's certain information that you need, but you still have to dig through and deal with all these documents because of the structure and the framework around them. And the information in those documents, of course, contains critical information you need to drive your business decision. But getting that information out in manual ways is time-consuming and error-prone. So agents at the stage they are at now are particularly good at handling this. And we're going to run through several different demonstrations of creating an AI agent to handle these use cases. So we're going to first go through a lease abstraction agent. So going through the very common task of taking out the most relevant details from a set of lease documents or any kind of contract, really. Then we'll take a look at a loan document, look at underwriting example. We'll take a look at how agents can help with compliance. They're very good at that as well. How they're good at things like document comparison. So when you get a new change to a policy document or an amendment to a lease or whatever it is, an amendment to any existing document, you can instantly basically get a summary of those changes because of the way that these agents are set up. And these demos are going to be they're going to be end to end. So I'm going to show you the creation of the agent. Setting up all the configuration is only going to take just a few minutes. And then within that same demo, we'll see the results of processing an example set of documents. So processing a lease, we'll see the lease abstract. So everything I'm going to show you, I'm doing basically in real time. I'll jump forward to just show like a little bit more fleshed out version of what I'm doing, but effectively I'm going to be creating the whole agent with you live. So just to give you a sense for how quickly these agents can be created, thanks to the structure we're providing on the platform. If you have questions, feel free to write in. There's a Q&A widget here in the Zoom webinar. Just write in your questions. We have Mohammed helping out to answer your questions. And yeah, we would love to get whatever questions you have as you think of them. Feel free to drop them in there, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. Great. So just to set the stage here a little bit, for those of you that might be learning about AI agents for the first time, it's very much a big theme for this year, and kind of emerged a little bit last year on the technical side of things, and is now really starting to hit businesses and be applied in enterprises in the transformative ways that I was talking about. So to give you this will just give a little bit of context about what an AI agent is, what that means when I'm talking about an AI agent versus a traditional AI system or a traditional lease abstraction system that you might use through property management software traditionally before this. And then we'll talk about how this relates to workflow automation. So what are AI agents? They're basically autonomous systems. They're the next generation of autonomous systems. They're intelligent workers is the way that you can think about them. They're not mechanical systems in the way that software has been previously. Now they're much more like a human in the sense that they can understand context beyond the explicit instructions that you give them, and that makes them very powerful and effectively intelligent workers. And they're combining these foundational models, such as the ones coming out from OpenAI or Anthropic, the other main providers of these frontier leading models, a memory system, so something that keeps the documents in context so that they can look at things that they have in their memory, and then decision-making capabilities. So again, leveraging the knowledge of the underlying foundational models to inform guidance and suggest decisions intelligently, suggest actions, and therefore helping you as the human decision maker to very quickly make those decisions. And they can also go further and start to handle things independently. That's, of course, a question of trust, but the fact is the technology is getting to that point right now. So it has a lot of potential to be transformative, and that's why it's coming up so much right now. And again, unlike a simple chatbot, these agents can connect to tools. So they can connect to where data lives, they can search the internet, they can run calculations, they can do things that, it's a bit more than what you might expect from just a chat interface, which I'm sure most of you at this point have had some interaction with. This is an agent is going beyond that. And one thing that I'm going to be demonstrating today is they can be generating reports like a domain expert. And that's something that you can then leverage for your own particular domain, in this case, obviously real estate. And the way that they're doing this is through process automation. So by integrating with these various tools and APIs to connect with software in the background, it's a lot easier to perform actions like due diligence and contract reviews, data analysis, etc. And importantly, you can guide these tools in a very human way. So again, it's not like software where you have to have a software engineer go and make some change by understanding the code at a lower level. This is much more like you would guide a human worker. So the agent is effectively able to incorporate feedback given to it in natural language, and I'll show an example of that in our use cases. And that makes it more attuned to what you want it to do and efficient over time, in the same way that a good employee learns and then doesn't need to keep being told, or doesn't have to have every little minute change made, that has a better contextual understanding of the nature of the problem. That's another amazing thing about these agents, is that they're incorporating this larger intelligence now. So these are really going to be, they already are, the huge competitive advantages in real estate. It's very much emerging. If you're here, you have a chance to be kind of getting in on the ground floor of this. But the idea is that they are really agents of the kind that I'm going to show you. These operational agents, you could think of them, are just amazing at any document-intensive workflow. So I mentioned this earlier, but leases, amendments, contracts, loans, policy, regulation, compliance of all kinds, portfolio management, all these things that have to deal with a lot of documents. These AI agents are going to be really good with. And just to summarize kind of the benefits for why these are taking over, they're really dramatically cutting down on processing time. We're seeing like 10x volume, if not more, in terms of being able to process some of these incoming lease or loan forms, for example. The accuracy actually goes up generally, is what we observe, because unlike a human who might get bored or has, maybe not the best incentive to do a great job with extracting out, information manually from these 100-page long documents, these AI agents are tireless, and as soon as they are given that initial guidance, are very consistent about giving you about generating the accurate results that you expect. So these actually turn out to be very trustworthy in the long run. Operations can scale up because of these things. So you have an accurate process and you can do it at 10 times the speed. That means that you can do 10 times the volume without adding any more headcount. You don't need to hire more people. You don't need to necessarily outsource anymore. If that's something that you're doing right now, you can consider taking care of that internally now and having it done basically instantly. And again, this comes from being able to automate repetitive time-intensive tasks. Another thing that these can do is, by taking a look at all of your documents, they are able to see these hidden insights in a sense by having this very large memory, like a big brain worker who has a sense for everything that's in your entire library of documents, and then can help you to unlock or reveal these hidden insights that otherwise might have just gone hidden in plain sight. Big facilitation of compliance because of, it's a very logical and legal thing where there are clauses that need to be adhered to, and they're very clear, and they all have these related parameters that need to be understood. And because of the way that these agents are structured, they're very good at incorporating all of that and facilitating compliance and making sure that you're on top of compliance needs, requirements. And this last two really quickly here, it really accelerates things like loan underwriting because you're automatically extracting and validating whether the, like an application for a loan is valid. I'm going to show a quick example of that later. And then we're talking about, moving due diligence from weeks to days is something that we've talked about with our customers. So really dramatic changes to the speed and throughput of many of these processes. And then also forgot to mention, they just handle these huge document sets easily. So there's just a lot of volume of text or whatever, but these AI agents will be able to deal with that, no problem. So I'm going to just give a quick slide that shows what Kolena is, and then I'm going to show you creating some agents. Kolena basically sits between where your data lives and where you want the processed output to be. So if you think of Kolena as this middle here, it's basically where your AI agents are. We're going to create some of these agents here today. These agents are basically, they will get input from wherever your data lives. So if you have it coming from a cloud storage solution or like a property management solution where you've got your data, you've got it in Box or wherever your data is, it can be of any kind of a huge variety of formats. That'll come into the agent. The AI agent will do some operations, follow the instructions that you've given it, and it will generate a structured output like a report or a CSV file that you can then use downstream or to reincorporate back into whatever your real estate tool of choice is. To show that another way, basically you can connect any data store. SharePoint is another one that we've heard about a lot. We support really a huge variety of files and workflows, which is something that a lot of other tools don't at the moment. You configure the AI agent, which I'm going to show you right now. And then basically you have generated a template that will then let you process thousands of files like that in seconds thereafter. So the initial setup is not very long, maybe a little bit tweaking to make sure it's exactly right. But then once you've got it going, then you're good to go, and it's efficient at processing at lightning speed, basically. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into some use case demos. First one I want to show you is a lease abstraction demo. I'm going to go ahead and exit my slide deck here and jump over to the platform. This is effectively the home page for the Kolena platform. Each of these is an agent that I've created previously, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new agent here with you. First thing we need to do is give it an objective, and this is just a natural language prompt. What are we trying to do here? The example here is, I want to extract valuable insights from real estate listings. What I want to do right now is I want to get lease abstractions. And what Kolena it will do is it'll interpret that, it'll suggest a title here. So we're going to use this information to inform the rest of what the agent does and how it intelligently suggests operations for itself. Just to show quickly the variety of file types here, we of course support the common document formats that you would expect. We also take in images. So if you've got scanned documents or photos of a lease, then that's perfectly acceptable and we can use it alongside everything else. Web pages, text, audio even. So if you've got audio file that you want to incorporate into your data set, you can do that here too. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and show, just to start off with, just a single multi-tenant office lease. I'm going to drop that in. That's a PDF. I'm going to go ahead and click create. This is creating the agent. Now we're in the agent view. Over here is the document that we just uploaded. It's a standard multi-tenant office lease. We've kind of mocked up some information here. You can see that it's got a lot of information in it. This all is relatively standard, but it might be a slightly different form than whatever lease type you're used to seeing, and of course it takes some in-depth reading if you're doing it on purpose or manually, I should say. So what we want to do is give our agent some guidance. So what is the first piece of information we want to extract? And let's say we want to know, just the lessee. Go ahead and click create. And what it's doing in the background is it's now going to effectively interpret their instruction. All I did was say lessee. That's not even an instruction. But what Kolena has done is it's intelligently rewritten the prompt to, given this context, given that I told it that this is a lease abstraction agent, it rewrote the prompt for this extraction to say, what is the name of the lessee tenant in this lease agreement? And then it gives itself these instructions. And so you don't have to be a prompt engineer. You don't have to really understand exactly how to be prompting AI for these things, because what Kolena is doing in the background is intelligently using the full context and our own systems knowledge, basically, to rewrite that prompt and generate the result. And you can see here, we've already got the result here, correctly extracted koala AI, which we've got right here as the lessee. And we can see that it's even provided reasoning. So for every extraction that Kolena does, it will provide this reasoning section. And we can see that it clearly identified it in multiple places in the lease document. And in fact, we can see a specific citation here. So the citations will appear here, which will show every document that was used in the reasoning to generate this result. And it'll also even show specific pages, so that if we wanted to go and find another mention here, we can see that it's mentioned again right here on page 2. And we incorporate a confidence score as well, so that that this is a trustworthy result. If it's confidence medium or confidence low, then that means you should take a closer look just to make sure that the information that is being inferred is aligned with what you're expecting. But the idea is to make it as easy as possible for you to very quickly get to extracting the relevant information. I literally only wrote the word lessee. That's all I did to generate all of this, because we're incorporating that intelligent context. So I'll go ahead and just add a few more in here while I'm setting this up. Let's do, we want to know, let's say, what's the lease type? Go ahead and click create. Let's see, we probably want to know something like the lease term length. Click create there. If we were to click configure, that would send us straight to this configuration screen like this one. Create just means trust you to do it on your own first. Let's see, I want to do something a little bit more, more than a simple extraction. I want to know, let's say, the base rent and the escalation schedule. So if there is one, and go ahead and click create for that one. And then let's see, another one that I think would be interesting here is, let's say we want to know, like relative to, let's say, remaining lease term from March 12th, 2025. So this is going to require a calculation. It's not provided in the document. There's no field that says remaining lease term from March 12th, 2025. So this will show us some of the intelligent calculation there. We can see here that we've got this. It understands the dates that are in the document and understands how to make this calculation. And it gives us, where it got this information from. And then let's say we want to do, a little bit more information with that. We want to see the total remaining lease obligation from that date. Go ahead and click create there. And again, this will give us a calculated piece of information that is otherwise not there, not present, that you would have to go and manually calculate on your own. You can do this very quickly and very easily. Yes, so this is done now. The base rent and escalation schedule. So this is, we generated a table here, and we can see that for this first period, there's this rent. It looks like for the second period, there's no monthly base rent. And let's see, why is that? There is a provision for free rent in the second month, 100% abated. Let's see. Oh, yep, there it is. So we can see here this 1.5a free rent. The base rent for the second month of the lease shall be 100% abated. And so we have this table that is now part of the output. So it's, again, not just a simple extraction, but a kind of a calculated and compiled table. To jump down here to show the one that I was showing before, another calculation here. This is another one where it understands that the rent changes. There's a rent adjustment schedule. So to calculate this total remaining lease obligation from a particular date, it understands, what falls before that date, what the rent schedule was for each period within that date, and then basically does some math on top of each of these periods to generate this total value. And we can see all of this because of the reasoning, and we can trust that we've got accurate information. And all I had to do was ask it total remaining lease obligation from March 12th, 2025. I didn't have to provide any of these specifics. If I did want to be providing specifics, we can edit the prompt at any time by clicking edit extraction. We can see here the prompt. So if I wanted to offer some specific guidance here, we could do that. You can see here the types of values that are possible here. So text and number, pretty straightforward. True or false, whether that's really straightforward as well. Table is what we saw before. If we wanted to see like the classification, so I think that we did that, let's see, up here. It looks like this one has a text, but this could also be a classification where if we gave it a set of possible lease types that we were expecting, gross being one, then it would assign a classification to the document. And all of these things that we're compiling here are being effectively, this is the editor, but they're all being put together in this report view. And this is effectively the output that you can then use as a document like this, where you can print it out. We can show or hide the reasoning here, however we like. And then if we wanted to download it as a CSV, we can also come back. But what I've shown you here is basically we've got a template. We've given it one document and we say, okay, these are the kinds of things that I want you to be consistently extracting. I'm just going to add one more here, just a true false one. I want to know if the document was executed. And again, it will be able to infer the meaning here for what executed means by doing some calculations here. Actually, this is not quite what I wanted it to do. This is extraction of date. What I wanted it to do is give me a true false. So actually what I'll do is I'm just going to suggest an improvement. And this is, again, another way you just use natural language. Want to know whether the lease has been signed by parties. And that's what I mean by executed. I'm looking for kind of a true false result. And so in this way, it'll go back and it's now changed it to a true false. It's rewritten its prompt for itself. We can go ahead and click update. And now it should, let's see if it actually is signed. Looks like it is. Great, true, perfect. And so all I had to do there was, again, just suggest an improvement. I gave it some more natural language instructions. Very simple. Not a whole lot that I had to do there. Great. So now all of these things that I've set up to be extracted are basically a template. Every time we put in a new file, it will basically be a new row. We could download the CSV, which would just look like this at the moment because we just have one file. But now when we add new files, it will add a new row. So that's what I'm going to show you next. I'm actually going to show a version of this that I fleshed out a little bit more just because it's a little bit easier to show. So in this one, it's a lot of the same fields, just a few more fields here, pretty much the same thing. And now what I want to do is I want to start sending in new lease documents, and I want to do it in an automated way. I don't want to have to drag and drop in all of my lease documents every time I get a new lease document in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a connection. A connection for these Kolena agents is you can specify a source for where these input documents are coming in, and then you specify a destination for where you want your report or your CSV to end up. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, I want you to connect to my Google Drive. It could be, again, any number of these sources. Doesn't necessarily have to be one of the ones here. In this case, I'm going to connect it to my personal Google Drive, and I want it to take a look at this folder called Lease Documents. So I'm going to say, basically, anytime there's something new in this Lease Documents folder, then that's a source, and I want you to run it through that agent that we just created. So do all those extractions that I just created together with you. And then for the output, when it's run through all that, I'm going to choose just another folder called Lease Abstracts. So I want generated lease abstracts to end up in this folder. And so now what I'm going to do is jump over to that. I'm going to drop some files into this lease documents folder. I'm going to show, let's see, I'm going to show an example of a lease that also has an amendment. So let me make sure that this uploads. There we go. So there are two files here that go together into this next run. So now what'll happen is these will basically they'll come in together as a new row. And this is just showing them already processed. But this is what that document looks like. It's a scanned image, you'll note. And this is no problem for Kolena because it's able to use OCR. And again, you don't have to worry about this. It just handles it seamlessly alongside any other types of documents. We can see that this is a modified gross commercial lease for Andy Miller with a lease term length of 3 years. We got these expiration dates. We can see this base rent and escalation schedule that we had before. And I wanted to point out this one because the other document that we provided here is not just this one, but I also mocked up this lease amendment where I said the key provision here is that the monthly rent amount is amended to $1,000 from $900 effective on this date. And that's all been incorporated already. Nothing has to have changed. That's already being reflected in this base rent and escalation schedule, which I just created with you in the last one. And we can see that in the first part of the term, it has this monthly base rent, but then it knows because of this amendment document that during this period, there's a different monthly base rent. And so we're getting that information right away by just putting this amendment document alongside the lease document. And you can do this with any number of documents. I'm showing it just for simplicity's sake with just a single amendment here. But you can do this with any number of leases or amendments or documents of any kind, and they can all relate to each other. And because there's this full contextual understanding, you'll get the result that you're expecting. let's see. Great. Again, so we can end up with a report if we wanted to. This one I had to generate maintenance responsibilities. So it's taking a look at this document. It's reading through, identifying where it mentions maintenance responsibilities, and then generating that here so that it's readily available. This is more than a simple extraction. It's not just pulling a value. It's actually generating a summary of these maintenance responsibilities. Great. And again, the connections here, I was just showing it from a Google Drive, but it could also be from an email source. So if you are monitoring an email address and sending, lease document form or receiving lease forms or loan applications or whatever via an email, you can have it automatically monitor that email and then dump those reports or whatever downstream structure that you want generated by these agents into another destination. And so it sits in the middle again and helps you to facilitate these workflows in a very high throughput fashion. Great. The next agent I want to show is a mortgage agent. So what I'm going to show now, let's create a new agent. For this one, I want to do just to show another type of real estate document. I want to look at mortgage loan. So I'm going to call this, the objective is mortgage loan analysis, basically. And for this one, I'm going to drop in this mortgage loan agreement. Go ahead and click create. We'll jump into that. This is just an example form that I downloaded from, I believe it was, I forget which government agency. It must have been the SEC. An old form. You can see it's from 2006. I just want to get some, quick information about this. So let's see, I want to know who the seller is. I want to know who the purchaser is. Go ahead and put those two in. And then actually, I'm just going to, to make this faster, I want to know what the key loan terms are. So, again, just at a high level, I want to understand very quickly, this is a 51-page document. I just want to know the key loan terms. If I'm taking a look at this very quickly, I don't want to have to do any more work than necessary. So what this should do is, generate, it looks like it's going to generate a table. This is the prompt that it intelligently inferred that we want when I'm looking for key loan terms. And we can see that it's using contextual understanding to look for these things. I didn't specify any of these things. It knows based on that I'm looking at a mortgage loan that these are the things that I care about. And you can see here we've got aggregate principal balance, the various agreement closing cutoff dates, loan types. There's a minimum credit score requirement. We can see the reasoning, and we can see the citations for where all of this came from and the document that it came in. And I wanted to show again just the this is a more complete version of this. And I want to show this one that I asked for just unusual clauses. So the prompt was extract any unusual, non-standard, or special clauses from the agreement that are not typically found. And you can see here that it did a review, and it thinks that while most of the provisions are standard, there are a few noteworthy special clauses. And these are ones that it not necessarily is saying are problematic. It's just maybe it doesn't see them as much when it's reflecting on what is common and what isn't. So these are things that you can very quickly, like, what do I need to think about across this 51 pages of clauses? These are the ones that I can maybe focus on and just pay a little closer attention to. It might not be a problem, but in this way that you're very quickly focused on what matters. So you're focused on much higher level strategic thinking rather than the mundane document processing steps. And again, this is just one loan document of 50 pages, but you could be doing this with all of your loan documents and have all of this done across your entire loan portfolio. So, or anytime you are processing a new loan or you're analyzing competitor documents or whatever it is, all of these things can be done very quickly using this kind of setup. And thanks to the way that Kolena is able to leverage these foundational models and use some of this systems intelligence that we've built into it, and these AI quality checks, essentially looking for citations, intelligently using those, the context in the document to generate these and generate the reasoning. It just facilitates a much faster and trustworthy process so that you can get along with whatever you want to focus on. The next one I want to show is just an example of a loan application and compliance for a loan application. Let's see, I want to call this one, let's see, loan compliance. And for this one, I'm going to drop in quite a few files. Let me go ahead and pull that up on my screen here. Let's see here. Here we go. So this is a set of documents that are from one person's application for a residential lease loan here. Go ahead and click create. And now let me just show you what we're looking at here. This is our guy, Leonard Bernstein Koala. He is applying for a loan. Let's see if I can find that loan document. He's got provided several pay stubs and utility bills, bank statements. Here's a residential lease agreement. And here we go. This is the loan application itself. So we've got all of this supporting documentation, and we've got this loan information, and we now want to start prompting or giving some just basic instructions for what we want our agent to do. Of course, I'm going to start with the applicant name, but let's say we want to jump to something a bit more sophisticated right out the gate. Let's do something that requires, let's see here, is there proof of residence? And you can start to explicitly create each of the checks that you know are going to be required here. You could also have it suggest these, but we want to know is, for example, one thing that's, when you're dealing with a lot of documents like this, they all should have to do with Leonard Koala because it's all an application for Leonard Koala. But, if we were seeing an earnings statement for somebody else, then that would be a problem. And that's where this compliance component comes in, and how this generalizes to any compliance use case is that you can do things like, is there name consistency? And what Kolena will do is interpret this and understands that we're checking to see if the name is consistent across all the documents where it appears. And it'll return true if the name is consistent and false otherwise. I'm going to go ahead and trigger that to get going. We can see here that we've got this proof of residence, and we've specified not just that it's proof of residence, but that it's this lease agreement. And the name consistency here. So what we're expecting is everything is Leonard Koala. And as long as that's true, then that should be, it looks like it is true for most of these documents. Everything looks good so far. So if I were doing it manually, I'd have to be going through and checking all of this stuff to make sure that that name is provided sufficiently. And while that's going, let's see if I can find, there is, I believe, one document where it's a different name. Oh, maybe not. Gotcha. Okay, so this is actually good because it's showing all the documents that it looked at. It shows how the name appears, and it's actually showing that exactly. And we can see here in this further reasoning, the first name and last name remain consistent. The middle name appears in two formal documents while being omitted in others. And then there's a rationale. It's still saying true, even though there's this middle name, because this is a normal practice, as middle names are commonly omitted. But if we didn't like that, we could say, we could modify this and just say, middle names have to be consistent and present in all documents. So if just this is an arbitrary thing here, but whatever your policy is, whatever your expectation is for these documents, you can specify it gave what I think is a very reasonable rationale for why it still counted it as true, even though there's a middle name variation. And you can then come in, and this is just a little bit of tweaking to say, well, actually, the way that we do it here in our specific shop is or we have this particular policy, or we only want to see things like that. So now it should come back with false the next time we do that. And we can do something even more sophisticated here, where I just did name consistency, but there's a lot of other personal information here. So I want to talk about, just is all of this personal identifying information consistent? Great, name consistency false. So now it's adapted because of the middle name stipulation that we required. For information consistency, it rewrote the prompt to know, it knows now we're not looking just at name, but also is the address the same? Is the phone, is the email, the social security number, the date of birth? All this identifying information, it's like a customs agent where you got to check all this information and make sure it's validated. This is the kind of thing that these agents are fantastic at, and it inferred that this is the kind of information that we're talking about because of the context of the documents. All I said was information, that would completely depend. If we're looking at a different set of documents, then it wouldn't necessarily be these things, social security number or whatever. So in this case, we found that there was some issues with phone numbers, for example, and that's because this is just mocked up data. But the idea is that we were able to very quickly identify a compliance issue by just asking for consistency, basically. And just to show a more complete, fleshed out version of that, if we were looking at, I created this one earlier, it's just a lot more fields, including the ones we had before. If I wanted to take a look at all of the results here, this is what that result might look like. If we were to download a CSV, we could have that as a form that would look something like this, where you'd have a row for each document, a column for each of those extractions that could then live in whatever downstream tool that you want to be looking at for that information. And again, let's say you could have that, these loan documents be coming in together as like attachments to an email. And those will all come together. So, a loan application for Leonard Koala with 12 attachments, that creates one run. It ends up here basically as was one of these rows with all of these documents and does all of this stuff automatically and generates that report within, a few minutes. Great. Another use case that I would love to show here. We've just got a little bit of time left. So I think I have time to show this. Is let's say you are dealing with contractors for your properties. There's a ton of documentation and contracts, of course. You're dealing with a contractor, there's going to be contracts. So what I want is, like a contract, a contract analyzer, I guess, is just a start. But basically something that's going to help me automatically process these contracts. And what I'm going to do is there is a, let's see, where did I put that? There we go. This is just, it's a PDF, but it's actually another image. You can see that it's a handwritten form. Let me see if I can zoom this a little bit. There we go. So this is an application and certification for payment. We can see, the people involved, the owner of the project, a bunch of information. And we can start extracting information. So I want to know, actually, I'm just going to jump to exactly what I want to show, just in the interest of making this quick. So what I really care about is this section, this contractor's application for payment. And I'm literally just going to type that because that's what I want to see. And what this will hopefully do is read all of this, understand that these numbers are connected to this and extract that. It should come out as a table because, let's see, or actually, no, it looks like it wants to do the total amount here. So actually what I want it to do is extract the entire table let's see. And what I'm expecting is a table output. Great, there we go. Change it to a table. And now it's going to extract each of these as values from that table. Go ahead and click update, and it'll run that. Just to accelerate that, I'm just going to show this completed version. We're looking at the same document here. And what we can see here is that it created a table based on each of these lines. The numbers all correspond. And it's gone above and beyond actually what's present. We can see that row 1 is 12,000, row 2 is 6,000. Row 3 is the sum of lines 1 and 2, which is not present in the actual document, but has been calculated here. So it is able to calculate and fill in these values so that the information that you're getting doesn't require any subsequent calculations by you. So whatever information you needed to work with this document to do, the AI agent can handle it. It's not just doing extractions. It's filling in and generating a report to you, again, at the end of the day, of what you need to know so that you can move on with the decision or to facilitate the next step in a workflow and to do it effectively immediately because of the automated nature and the way that we set up these templates. And again, this is an image. You could be doing it with any type of document. And that's part of the power of the platform is that it can handle all these documents, different document types seamlessly within the same run altogether. You could have an audio file next to an image and et cetera, things like that. The last thing I want to show before I wrap up is an example of doing document comparison. So I've got this one here. I'm just going to bring over. This is two versions of the for this Ontario Real Estate Association set of documents. So it's for a particular property. You can see that there are, changes, excuse me, red lines and new values throughout the document in different places. And you might be dealing with this on a regular basis, depending on, how much the type of documents you're dealing with are changing, but presumably most of you are dealing with documents that have amendments or changes, and they come back in this type of format. And what I've set up this agent to do, I just gave it the instruction, document differences. It generated the prompt, compare the two versions of the document. We've given it two versions of the document, and identify any content that has been added, removed, or modified. And then it's turned it into a table. So now we have this table, which if we were to look at it in the report view, let's say we just got this presented to us in our email or wherever we go to look at our reports, we can immediately see, okay, we just got a new version of this document. Here are all the changes. You don't even have to look at the document if you don't want to, because you can see explicitly and in a format that whatever format you want. In this case, it's the table with with added and modified as the change type, and then a description of the change. Or if you had like specific instructions to highlight certain other types of changes or flag them with a particular tag, all that are instructions that you can leave for the agent. And this makes it very easy to do basically document comparison as a general use case across any kind of document. This is just an example, but it could really be any type, any variety. And this is something, again, that these AI agents are really excel at doing. Great. So since I'm getting close to the end of time here, I hope that I got to show you at least one of the use cases that you're dealing with. But if not, then that doesn't mean that the platform doesn't handle it. The idea is that really any document-intensive workflow can be handled, and it just requires a bit of natural language instruction. You can set it up in minutes. I showed several different agents here, and it really only took a few minutes for each of those agents. I added a few more fields when I showed you this completed version, but it really took only a couple more minutes, to be honest, because we're leveraging that additional intelligence. So I'm going to jump over to my slides again very quickly. So to sum up the value here AI agents are accelerating workflows. And the uh, the reason that we can trust these agents to be accelerating your workflow, and trust is the key word here. Obviously, we can incorporate automation, but it doesn't mean anything if we can't trust the result. It's a neat trick if you can do it with one document, but if you don't trust it to be done systematically all the time across all of your documents, then it's not something you can adopt. And we are well aware of that. And we are leveraging our history as this AI quality company, this company that's been focused on helping customers build the highest quality AI system, the most trustworthy systems that they can build. And we've built it into this agent creation process and the way that we've architected the system in our backend. The way that these quality checks show up is we're taking a look here at, just an example extraction like we were looking at here before, but we're doing automatic prompt optimization, which is basically understanding how the foundational model, how the foundational AI LLM is used to receiving instructions. Different models prefer different types of instructions, but we take care of that. We choose the best model, and then we understand how to write the best prompting for that model so that all you have to do is give it your own, so you can speak naturally in the way that you would to somebody who understood the domain. We are incorporating these direct citations, so you can see exactly where information is coming from. You don't just have to go find it and figure it out yourself. You can go and reference it immediately. So it's very easy to trust and verify. The confidence scores are, again, another byproduct of the fact that we have these quality checks as part of each step in our system. And I'll actually show a quick graphic after this. But this is a way of letting you know where you can focus on your verification. The confidence high, pretty much always going to work out. Confidence any lower than that just means take a closer look and make sure that it's actually doing what you want it to. In most cases, it is, unless the confidence is low. But the idea is to make it so that you're only focused on what's likely to be an issue. You don't have to go and check everything all the time because you can trust the confidence scores. And the reasoning is to me is the most powerful part of all of this, because it's using natural language to tell you and to cite and to like show its work in a way that if you're submitting an assignment to somebody, this is what you want to know in order to trust that they did it in the way that you expect that they would do it. That it's not just that they're getting the result that you expect, but that they're getting it in the way that you would have gotten that result yourself. In the same way that you test a student to see if they truly understand the material as opposed to having found the answer online. So this is a key element here, that this reasoning is occurring and that it's transparent and it's presented, and again can be verified. And then of course, for all those cases where it's not doing exactly what you want, something that you're doing that's outside the norm, or just a preference that you have about how you want these reports to be generated, you can suggest improvements, again using natural language. And this is part of a continuous improvement feedback loop, so that these, when you are fixing something that the agent did wrong with a particular incoming set of documents, like it got something a little bit off in one of the lease documents that you sent in, you refine that instruction, and then forever after, whenever it does any other document, it will have that refined instruction, so that it's building its knowledge, it's building its contextual understanding every time you give it a little bit of, you point out something that's slightly different in whatever your particular company's workflow is, and that you end up with a very robust AI agent that isn't just a general AI agent. It's not just relying on the foundational model's knowledge. It's actually starting to incorporate your knowledge, not just your domain, which it already has, but also your particular practices and preferences. And this is just supplementary for the quality checks piece of it. This is on our AI quality page on our website. If you go to kolena.com/AI-quality, this is a high level view of what we're doing in the background to generate all this magic of you just having to type a few words and getting all of this done automatically for you. And this is the way that you're getting to trust that quality, is that there are quality checks after the user prompts. There is quality checks related to that feedback engine where you're telling it, no, you didn't do it right, or yes, you did this well. We use basically models to decide. We have a structure to decide which models to use, which tasks should be assigned to which agents or which models, and then checking to make sure that those, on a regular basis, that those are aligned properly. Uniting this whole execution system, which is part of what we were looking at, making sure that the way that we're converting this unstructured to structured data, which is effectively the crux of this document management workflow. And then, feeding that all back into the outcome and doing quality checks at every stage. And this is, again, it's a high level, and I'm not really going into details here, but the idea is that we are, every component here is trustworthy, and that makes the whole system much more robust and much more trustworthy so that you don't have to worry about it. So you can actually try this lease abstraction agent right now, the one that I showed off at the beginning, where we were looking at the multi-office tenant, and the other one with the lease amendment, for example. We set it up so that if you email into restructured@kolena.com with a set of lease documents, could be a single PDF or single image, or it could be a set, like the one I had that had a lease document and a lease amendment. And the agent will take it in just in the way that I showed you. It's connected to monitor that email address. It'll process it and will generate and send you a report in the same format that I showed earlier for that particular use case. So if you want to try it out, feel free to send in any documents. We have it set up so that we don't retain any data. I also just want to mention that we're SOC 2 compliant, HIPAA compliant. We have zero data retention for all of the stuff that we send to our AI model providers. So data is encrypted and it's never stored for training. That you're also free to send in just a generic lease document. This is just for you to try it out and to get a sense for how simple it is and what the process will look like for you on the end if you're using this. You're just going to be sending documents to an endpoint, a box or whatever it is, and you're going to get back the structured format that you can then use. If you just want to talk to us, or you're curious to learn more about the solution, you want to try it out more yourself, build your own agents, we dropped a link in the chat here in the Zoom. Thanks, Mohammed, for dropping that chat there. Yeah, we would love to hear from you. Feel free to also reach out there if you just have questions about how all this works, or if it applies to your use case. And we would love to talk through whatever your use case is. This is really exciting stuff, and we're always excited to see the new ways that our people are wanting to build and use these agents. All right, yeah, it looks like we're at time, so I'm going to wrap up there. Thank you all for attending. Hope to hear from you, and see you at the next webinar.